Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today, I thought we would talk about series. The reason why is that I've been rearranging my shelves behind me. I don't know if you can see a little bit. I've moved all of the books that were initially on this separate shelf into a cart because these were all my physical TBR books. So all the books that I haven't read yet that I own physically. As I was shifting things from this shelf to the cart, I looked at some of the books and realized they were part of series that I had kind of dropped recently and just had not been reading for a long time, and maybe my taste has just changed, or maybe I have no interest in reading the sequel, and maybe it's time to have a look at all the series that I own, that I have started, and whether I actually want to read the sequels or not. I'm just gonna go in alphabetical order because that's how I arrange my shelves. So it's gonna be the easiest for me is just to pick up any book that I know is actually part of a series, show it to you guys and let you know whether I plan on reading the next one or not. So the first one is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo, and I do in fact plan on reading the sequel because I have already bought it. It's just not arrived yet. It came out only this year, I think. And it's currently lost in transit, I think, because I bought it ages ago and Waterstones just has not delivered it to me yet, and I may need to buy it again and ask for a refund. But anyway, I plan on reading the next book. I really enjoyed the first one. Next, I have The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. So there's already 2 more books in the series that came out, and I think there's another book that is not technically part of the trilogy but is in the same universe that also came out or is about to come out or something like that. This is a YA novel and I really enjoyed the first book. I own the second one, not the third. I haven't read the second one yet, but I do want to. I really enjoyed this. It was a lot of fun and I think it would be a light-hearted read at some point or another this year, hopefully. So yes, I'm gonna keep reading this. And then another one by Jennifer Lynn Barnes is The Fixer. I also do own a copy of the second book in this duology and I do plan on reading it. Now, still in the B's for the author Frederick Backman wrote Beartown. There is a sequel to this. I did not even finish the first book because it just was not for me. I think it's very beautifully written and there's a lot of interesting stuff happening in this book, just not for me personally. I think it's quite slow and it's just not my type of story. I read Anxious People by Frederick Backman before and I really enjoyed that book, which is why I bought Beartown, but it's a completely different kind of story and I wasn't expecting this. So I know there's a sequel to this. I am actually gonna give this one to charity because I never actually even finished the first one. Next is Stags by M.A. Bennett. So this has already a few other books in this series. I think so there is Stags, then Dogs, then Foxes, then Tigers, and I think the last one is Hawks, and I don't own it. I do plan on reading it, if only because I enjoyed the first books. I think it just became a little bit repetitive towards the last ones that I've read in the series, and there's a part of me that kept seeing more books coming out for the series and thinking, when are you gonna stop? Like, this is enough. I've got enough. You know, it was fine as a trilogy. You've already made it into way more than that. Please stop. Obviously, she's making good money from it, and that's probably why she's publishing more, but I think the last one officially of the series is Hoax. So I am gonna read it so that, if only to have the last one officially. Next is Contagion by Erin Bowman. It's also a duology and I do own Immunity, which is the second one in the series, and I do plan on reading it. I've owned this for a very long time, but I really do want to read it. It's just, for some reason, it just never comes up in my TBRs and it just never is something that I reach for. But every time I think about giving up on it, I don't want to. I do want to continue reading this. Next, I have on my shelves this book called Once and Future, and it's sort of a Arthurian legend retelling, and it was really fun when I read it. It's sci-fi, but I sort of feel like I had enough with one book. Like, it just filled me with what I needed, and even though it does end up on, I think, a cliffhanger, if I remember correctly, and I might want to know what happens next, it's been a long time. Like, it's been so long that I'm like, I'm okay. I don't actually need to know what happens next. So I feel like I'm gonna give up on this one. Probably gonna keep the first book though. I'm not gonna get rid of it, mostly because I did enjoy it and I like to keep books on my shelves that I generally enjoyed reading. Next is City of Bones by Cassandra Clare. I don't think I'm gonna read the next ones. I do love this edition though. I thought it was beautiful and I did enjoy myself reading it. I actually had a lot more fun than I expected based on people's reviews and the fact that it's a very well-known piece of YA media, and that often I tend to not like those anymore because I'm not a young adult anymore, so I don't have that aspect of nostalgia that some people have when I first read one of these famous older young adult books. I'm not gonna have a bias based on the fact that I first read it when I was 16. I'm just gonna immediately think about it from my point of view as a 31-year-old woman, so I did not have the nostalgia aspect, but I still enjoyed myself when I read it as an adult, and I think I'm gonna keep it. But it was also one of those where I'm like, I don't particularly want or need to know what happens next, and I'm okay with just this first one, to be honest. Next I have Clown in a Cornfield by Adam Cesare, and I have the second one and I do plan on reading it, but it's such a Halloween type of book to me that I need to wait until October. Last October I planned on reading the second one, and it's just, I got a puppy and so things happen, and I never really read any books at all in October. But this is very much a slasher young adult and it was fun, so I'm definitely gonna read the next one. And then I also have The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. I'm currently reading the novella that she wrote, To Be Tote If Fortunate, and I'm really enjoying it. I really loved this book as well, and I plan on reading the next ones in the series. There's quite a few, I think, so yeah, definitely will do. Alright, next I have Legendborn, and I really love this book. It's again a Arthurian legend retelling in modern day, and this has a teenager at the center who finds out there's a secret society on her campus and stuff like that. Really, really fun. A brick. It was quite long. It was quite a lot, but I loved it. And I think at the time I rated it 5 stars or something close to. So I definitely think I will read the next one. I just haven't been reading all that much young adult recently. And that might also be why I'm sort of reviewing right now all the series I own, because quite a lot of them are YA, and a few of them I feel like I don't actually want to read the next ones now. So yeah, this one I will though. Next I have Phobos by Victor Dixon. This is a French one and it's sci-fi. It was really fun when I read it. I have the second one I've read as well. I think there's a third and maybe a fourth one. I can't remember how many books he wrote. I don't think I'm gonna read the other ones. I think I'm gonna give up on the series. It's been too long, I've lost interest, and it's a little bit too young adult for me. Next, I have The Strange Case of the Alchemist Daughter by Theodora Goss, and this is again a young adult, and I think there's 3 books in the series, I'm not sure. I enjoyed this one at the time. I feel like it's not that memorable to me. I feel like I read it because there's a YouTuber I really like who loves this series, and I wanted to read it mostly because of her, and then I realized I liked it, but not quite as much as she did. Therefore, I think I'm gonna give up on the series because I'm not that interested in reading what comes next. Again, I don't read as much young adult anymore this year, I've noticed. I mean, in 2022 I've noticed, and I sort of feel like I didn't love it enough to keep it on my shelves if I'm not gonna read the next ones in the series. So I'm gonna get rid of this one, give it to charity. It goes in the charity pile. Next, and this should technically have been right before the other one because it's letter F by Jackson Ford, The Girl Who Could Move Shit With Her Mind, and I read this one, enjoyed it, and I bought the second one, random shit flying through the air, and then I sort of never even thought about wanting to read it, so I think I'm gonna give up on this series. It was fun at the time. I just feel like, again, it's one of those that's not that memorable. Like, I don't remember a lot of what happens in this book. I just have a very vague outline memory of it, so I don't think that's enough to make me want to read the next ones in the series, and I think there's like a third one as well, so I think I'm gonna give these ones away. Next I have A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. So I own this one. I read the second book in the series. I don't own it physically, and I read half of the third book in the series, which I also don't own physically, and that's when I sort of gave up. I think this has a lot of really fun things in this book, and I really enjoyed them, particularly all the witchy stuff, basically. All the supernatural elements of it, and the world building I loved. Everything to do with the romance I hated. I think the term people use nowadays is alpha holes type of guy. So this is the type of guy that is just very much like, I make some decisions because I'm the man in the relationship, and it doesn't do it for me. And there's like a whole scene in the second book where they basically have a huge argument that upset me so much that I was just like, I hate this guy so much. And then straight after, because they're in the heat of the moment, they have sex. And I was like, I'm not getting into the sex scene. Like, it's just not doing it for me. You've just had an argument. I hate this guy now. Like, why would you? No. So I feel like that's sort of the main reason I gave up on this series, was the romance. It's just not for me. I do love this book. It was fun and I like the look and feel of it. I also don't plan on owning the other ones in the series physically because I'm not going to finish it. So I think I'm going to give this one away as well to charity. I almost forgot to put this one in the list, but technically Dune is a part of a series and I do own this gorgeous, gorgeous edition of it. I really enjoyed it. I actually quite liked it. I mostly listened to it in audiobook format rather than read the whole thing, and I think that's why I enjoyed it, and I don't think I would have enjoyed it as much if I had been reading this brick of a book. But I don't think I really want to read the rest of it. I sort of know what happens because I was curious and I did Wikipedia it a little bit. I do that sometimes, it's just for my anxiety. I need to know what happens sometimes before I read something. So I sort of know what happens next, and it didn't make me want to read it all that much. I feel like I'm good with this one, and it's still like very much, it's a story contained within this, so I'm okay with just owning this first one. Next I have Practical Magic by Alice Hoffman. So I have read the first prequel to it, which is about the aunts and their lives, and I really enjoyed that one. And then I also own the other prequel of it, which is the one that's like in the 1600s or something like that, like their ancestor basically, the first witch in their family or something like that. And I know there's another book as well that came out that I do not own. So there's two more basically, and I do plan on reading them. I really like this. It's quite cozy feeling, but also witchy, and I don't know, I feel like maybe the stakes are less high in these books for me personally, and so I enjoy reading them because they have those autumnal cozy vibes and stuff like that. I don't know. So yeah, I definitely will read the other ones in the series, although I'm not quite sure. They weren't published in the order of the timeline, basically, if that makes sense. Next is a historical romance called The Wisteria Society of Lady Scoundrels. This was really fun, and I remember really enjoying myself reading it. Then I saw there was another one that came out, and I'm pretty sure each story is a different couple and just set in the same world and with other characters that you meet throughout the book that you've just read. I actually don't think I'm gonna read the other ones, or at least own physically, and I sort of feel like I don't actually need to own this physically anymore because of that. So I enjoyed it. I feel like it will just be space on my shelves that could be for other books that I like more, so I'm gonna give this one to charity. Next I have Crazy Rich Asians by Kevin Kwan. So I read the first and second one after the other while I was on holiday and really loved them, but I sort of felt like I didn't want to read the third one immediately after because it was a little bit too much and I needed a break. But now I'm currently reading Rich People Problems, which is the third one in the series, so I am clearly gonna finish this series. Next I have Every Heart a Doorway by Shannon McGuire, and this is a novella, and it's a series of novellas with different people that we're focusing on for each book, but still, you know, following up in the same series. So I really want to read the other ones. I don't own them yet. I think, do I own the second one? I'm not even sure I do. So I'm definitely gonna buy the rest of the series because I enjoyed this one very much. So yeah, that's my plan. I'm not giving up on this. Next I have The Ravens by Cass Morgan and Daniel Page. I remember not enjoying that one all that much. It was more for 3 stars. It was an average rating for me when I read it. I know there's a second one that came out called The Monarchs, and I was initially curious about reading it. The main reason I read this one and I wanted to like it so much is because it's very much a comp title for the first book that I wrote, which is The Art of Summoning Demons. It happens on a campus, there's sororities that are hiding covens of witches, so there's a lot of similarities with what I wrote, and that's why I wanted to like this one so much, but I just didn't, and so I don't think I'm gonna read the next one in the series, and I don't think I'm gonna keep this one on my shelves either. We're starting to get at the letter N, so I guess we're over halfway through now. So by Sylvain Neuvel I also read Sleeping Giants, and this is the first book in a trilogy. I read the second one as well, and I do own the third one, but I have not read it yet. So the thing is, I love the first book. The second book had a topic in there. Oh. What are you doing here? Huh? What are you doing here? Little monster. Oh, oh, oh. Here you go. Little disruptor. Basically, the second book had topics I did not particularly enjoy. I still want to know what happens by the end, and I'm still intrigued by, you know, reading the overall story and making sure that I know exactly what happens to everything. So I don't know, I feel like I liked the first book almost as a standalone and would have preferred not to read the second one, but also now I kind of want to read the third one. So I'm on the fence about this one. I haven't made a final decision and I'm going to keep them on my shelves. They are beautiful books as well, and I did really enjoy the first one, so I'm going to keep them for now, and I'm going to hopefully at some point read the third one. Next, I have Navigating the Stars by Mary V. Snyder, and I remember really enjoying this one. It's a young adult sci-fi novel, and I do own the second one in the series. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not sure I'm ever gonna get to it. Like, I have been thinking at some point, I was like, I want to read this, but I didn't enjoy that it was young adult. I don't know if that makes sense. I enjoyed the world, I enjoyed the story from what I remember. It's been a long time, but again, I feel like I'm less into the young adult vibes at the moment, and whatever sci-fi I pick up, I'd rather have adult themes right now, so I feel like I might not end up reading the next ones in the series, so I might as well get rid of this one. We're getting to the end. I have like 2 more series and then I'm done. So I've got the Martha Well series, the Murderbot Diaries, and this is a series of novella, and there's 1 novel out, and I think she's got... After the novel, there was another novella that I haven't read yet, and then there's a new full-size novel again it is getting published this year, basically, is my understanding of the series. So I'm really enjoying everything to do with this robot. Every time I've read any of these books, I've given them 5 stars, I think, every single one. They always bring me such joy and make me feel so good. So I'm definitely gonna read whatever she writes next in this series. Finally, I have Girls with Chopsticks by Suzanne Young, and I do own Girls with Razor Hearts, which is the next one in the series. I remember enjoying this book and thinking that was quite inventive and different, and I really liked it overall. However, it's been, again, a really long time. I haven't wanted to pick up the next book in the series in all that time, and it is very much young adult, and I feel like, once again, to repeat myself so much throughout this video, I don't think I feel a little bit more selective about the YA things that I read now, and I don't particularly veer towards this genre anymore, so I think I'm gonna give up on this one and give these 2 to charity shops as well. I lied, there is 1 more that escaped my notice, which is Girls of Paper and Fire by Natasha and Gan. I should have put that one in the end letter, but I forgot about it. This is a gorgeous edition of it, and it's signed, which is the main reason I've kept it. But as much as I enjoyed reading it, and I think I even rated it 4 or 5 stars when I finished it, I don't actually want to read more in that universe, more so because it's very much fantasy, like high fantasy, and it's young adult, and it's very much the type of story that I don't feel like I need to know the rest of. Like, it's just not for me, personally, and I'm over that genre, if that makes sense, more than anything else. So I don't think I will ever pick up the next books in the series. Therefore, I'm probably gonna give this one away as well. Such a shame because it's gorgeous, but I just don't feel like I need to own it on my shelves if I'm not even intending on reading the next ones. So yeah. Just to show you the full pile, because I've just been piling them up on top of one another. Here, let me up the lighting here. So this is the full pile. There's in total, and I think I'm missing a couple because they're in this cart. It's, you know, the next books in the series sometimes that I've decided I'm not gonna read, but I just don't have the courage right now to go through this and find them, so there's probably more than this. But yeah, so we have all of these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. The only thing is probably the French ones. I'm not going to go to a charity shop here because it's mostly English speakers that will buy books in charity shops in the UK. That just makes sense. So these might have to go somewhere else when I go back home or something, so yeah. And that's it for this video. So this is sort of the purge I'm doing in terms of the series, and trying to be a little bit more selective about the ones that I truly want to continue reading, because I realized how many I had going on, and I was like, there's no way I actually want to read all of them. I think I need to make a decision on which ones I'm going to give up on and which ones I'm going to keep reading. So yeah. That's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed this. If you do like this kind of content, feel free to subscribe to my channel, leave a like, leave a comment. I always try to respond to everyone who leaves a comment down below. And ring that bell, all that jazz, and I will see you guys in the next one.